My name is Derek. I'm out to talking with famous people, and for some reason I do not know, I am up at 2:15 in the morning, Wednesday morning, I guess it is. We've had a July thunderstorm, lightning, thunder, rain. Not a lot of not a lot of water, but it's good to see some weather. Hi, Boba Fett. I need to get my glasses though. Not sure where they are. I just managed to successfully call Corey. Hi, Susie. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm up late. I'm not on any amphetamines at all. So, I don't know what's going on. I'm in this moment of my life where everything seems to be full of upheaval. What are your top two or more Johnny songs? Well, my favorite at the moment is Wide Open. Um, and Giving Up on You, maybe? I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but. I killed the audio? What do you mean? Is the audio not can you not hear me anymore? Oh, you killed your audio. Oh yeah, everything's fantastic, Susie. Don't get me wrong. Everything's fantastic. But I'm worried about my friend Corey, and in general, in this state where I've not really ever been before, where I do not know what to expect. The thin line between thin and fine. Well, he's back in LA, but I just called him before I started this live stream because I wanted to make sure he's okay. That's not why I can't sleep, Hi, Keisha. Oh, yeah, trouble with his lady is right. I mean, there's been trouble with his lady for the entire. No, trouble with his lady. He's had trouble with her for the entire duration of the marriage, because she's BPD and abusing him. And it's like you're playing an RPG, right? You're going along and the map's opening up and you can kind of see ahead a little bit. That's how normally things are. And then suddenly you push through this fog, and then this whole huge section of map opens up. It's like the scope and scale of my expectations have been disrupted. Now I know we're working on it, you know. We're working on extricating him from his current situation, moving him up to Mariposa, where he belongs. Not moving in with us as any kind of a long term solution, but if he has to live with us for a couple months, so be it, you know. Yeah, so it's like we came here last Thursday, right? Brought a bag of Adderalls with him. And I took the last of those yesterday morning. I should be like deep in sleepy week right now. You know, or an abbreviated sleepy week because it was like a 5 or 6 day run, you know. It's not like I didn't sleep during those 5 or 6 days. I'm just saying I took it for 5 or 6 days getting too little sleep for 5 or 6 days, you know. It's terrible to see a friend go through that very specific type of situation, anguish, etc. It's really terrible for Rachel, who's got FI a lot more conscious than I do. You know, like while he was here, she'd periodically, she was about to cry because she was attending to how he must be feeling, you know. But there's so many big slabtacular slabs going around that I'm, like I said in the previous stream, reeling, you know. I'm not sure exactly what to do, exactly what's going on. But most of all, I'm not, you know, as I've said before, the current directive is we don't need to go to Vegas. She's bipolar? No, she's borderline personality disorder. Bipolar mania is a mental illness that can be treated in full with medication. But BPD cannot be treated with medication. BPD is a a tag we put on people who are abusive for in specific ways for specific reasons, you know. She's an INFP. It doesn't matter what type you are. If you're BPD, you're abusive. And, you know, I feel in rather stark resolve now. Um, a sense of obligation to fix this problem. I mean, not just obligation, a strong desire to fix this problem, you know? Carl Jung must be just spinning in his grave right now. There's so much synchronicity that I feel like I'm going insane. In no normal universe should I be awake right now. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep for the last week or so. I'm not on any amphetamines. But was this someone you guys met together, or I don't remember exactly when and where and how we met Liz, but Corey and I were living in the same house in Eagle Rock when they hooked up. I'm not exactly sure who met who first or whatever. And around the same time, I met and married my first wife, Melinda. Both of those women were not the right women for Eric and Corey. I got out of my relationship within 3 years because she cheated on me and it was horrible. It's like I could deal with a horrible part, but I couldn't deal with the cheating part, so we got divorced. Unfortunately, Corey's path didn't mirror mine. I don't blame him for picking the wrong chick. I don't blame him for anything really, but it's a shame he didn't somehow extricate himself from that sooner. Regardless, it's time now to extricate himself from that. I love the fact that there was a thunderstorm tonight. It's like even the weather's up in the middle of the night. So, it's like I got up, go pee. While I was peeing, I saw a lightning strike, like, through the window. And I walked outside, and it was raining, and it lightened a few more times. I went back to bed and lay down and lied down, and found myself wide awake. So then I got back up, said, okay, well, what are you going to do now? It's the middle of the night, you're awake, you shouldn't be. What are you going to do? So I went into the living room, did a couple bumps of ketamine, and still wasn't tired. So came out here and started live streaming. Ketamine's nice. It's weird. It's like I never really feel like I have a good grasp on what drug I've done. ESP because they bring about that pedicore? Yeah, well, a July thunderstorm in California is always delightful, but also likely ignites wildfires. Like, I did the 1/1000, 2/1000 thing, and the closest the lightning got to us was 2 miles away. There was already a lightning sparked wildfire in Yosemite that they're controlled burning it, kind of. I'm not too worried because this summer, the well, I would have said the same thing, Boba Fett. Don't bother with ketamine; it's not fun, or at least not my idea of fun, anyway. I would have said exactly the same thing. This particular ketamine is very pure, very strong. Like 2 full bumps will put you perilously close to the K-hole. if your nostrils aren't already filled with mucus, doing ketamine, it works less well as you do it because you get all stuffed up. I'm not going climbing. No, it is being used therapeutically. It's antidepressant, apparently. Um, I'm not depressed, but yeah, well, when you K'd out, you walk like an old man, very carefully, very slowly, if you walk at all. Well, Acacia, I wouldn't be too scared of it. If you put yourself in the K-hole, that's scary for me. That was very scary for me. But if you successfully control your dosage, it, ketamine is one of those drugs that you got to do the right amount. You know, every drug is like that, really. But if you don't do the right amount of ketamine, you could have a bad experience. But it's a comparatively safe drug. It has a short lifespan. You might be keyed out for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or something. Yeah. Well, I would say that I don't know. I mean, it's a dissociative drug, right? Which is a weird kind of drug. It's not a psychedelic or anything, but it's got some kind of psychedelic-ish effects, but I don't know. I like it fine, I guess. Rachel likes it more than me, but Rachel really likes it. She thinks like it makes her feel really good and relaxed and stuff. I've read Doors to Perception a long time ago in high school. It was part of the you need your parents' permission to read these books library. When I was in high school, as soon as I realized there was a section of the books that you needed your parents' permission to read, I immediately went and got my parents' permission to read them. It's like, that was a very good way to get me to read drug books. I remember I read the Communist Manifesto in high school for an assignment. And it's very short. I didn't read it. I started it and I was like, what is this? And then I told the teacher, like some vague shit, like, I don't know, it was really hard. I've read it since then. It's, of course, not even remotely hard. It's just idiotic. It's like, oh, I get it. An idiot made scratches on a piece of paper. It's got to be like the dumbest thing in history. You've never read the Communist Manifesto. It is so dumb. Oh my God. Permission? Yeah, I need permission. Hi, Winston's mom. How are you doing? That little thing, the Communist Manifesto, is like this little, yeah, right? It's like, I don't know, 15 pages or something. I don't know how that had any impact on anybody. It's like, that? That launched the Bolshevik Revolution? It's, it's so dumb. It's just like, oh my God, oh my God, ah! Karl Marx. I wish I could go back in time and kick Karl Marx in the head. Well, I've done my diagnosis, Karl Marx, and I figured out what's wrong with you. You need me to kick you in the head a number of times. Today's the 19th. I didn't register for that website for the lawsuit yesterday. I'm going to have to deal with that today. I'm not sure exactly how long it was that, how long ago it was that Michelle Shark served me. I could figure that out by looking at the YouTube channel and finding the video. It says Michelle Shark served me papers is the title. That would tell me what day I got served. Well, the paper says do nothing, and in 60 days the process will automatically start. But she served me at this address, but she didn't put this as my address on the papers. She put my Temple City address on the papers. So it wouldn't even get forwarded here. Would I enjoy talking with famous Karl Marx? I'd enjoy kicking him in the head. Obviously, well, I mean, if I had him on the stand and I could cross-examine him, I would enjoy it, but I tried to talk to Karl Marx and ask him some questions. He'd just shift ground, avoid my questions, piss me off, and then I'd have to kick him in the head. So, the future's wide open, as Tom Petty says. And maybe that's what's keeping me awake. We have this prime directive to close the gap between our map and expectations. It's almost 3, quarter to 3 in the morning. Thanks, Winston's mom. That's very helpful. 4 weeks ago. Thank you. So, okay. I'll do it today, but that actually helps me do it today to know that I've got 2 weeks left. It's very helpful. Thank you very much, Winston's mom. All right, cool. So, got a little time, but that means it makes it easier for me to do it today because I know now. I have this Enneagram Type 7 thing where I just want to bury my head in the sand and avoid deadlines that I know are approaching, but I'm not sure exactly when. Life's a crazy, crazy, mixed up bag of craziness. And sometimes it just doesn't make any sense because we have to operate under a paradigm of free will. Otherwise, there's no accountability. And concurrently, the magical connectivities in the world strain all credulity. It's like intuitively, everything's predetermined or scripted or something. Intelligently, we have free will. So, I don't know what to do about that. Of course, you never know what to do about magic. That's what makes it magic. But in the current status quo, I don't know what to expect. What does that do in relation to the prime directive? You know? If I don't know what to expect, how can I close the gap between my realities and expectations? My map is saying, I haven't mapped that area yet enough to make any predictions. Well, you're doing one job as a map. You're saying, you're telling me which parts are mapped and which parts aren't mapped, and that's good. But you're failing to function as a map for the part that is unmapped. So, in that regard, it's like when there's a distance between your expectations and realities, it causes distress. But when there's a challenge knowing what to expect, I'm not sure what that causes. Staying awake? Might ask the I Ching. I was listening to a lecture on that, but you went, why? The idea is that the world is a series of yes and no. I was wondering, INFPs, you happen to know what do they do to make an income for work? I know what Liz does. She works at her credit union, um, customer service slash loans and mortgages and stuff like that. My mentor teacher, Mr. Samuelson, he was an INFP. He was a very actualized INFP. And he ran a school called Samuelson Grammar, which is a private after school grammar school. He taught me grammar, sentence diagramming, old school. They should never have changed how they taught grammar. Sentence diagramming is by far the best way to teach grammar. I don't know why people don't do it anymore. Sentence diagramming functionally is the only good way to teach grammar. I see a sprinkling of INFPs all over the online YouTube town there. Counselors, usually childhood trauma counseling. Well, that's what Dr. whatever his name is. He's an INFP who does that. I don't remember what his name is, but I made a video about him sometime back. He had himself been interviewed about mushrooms. It was a good interview. I watched it. I've heard it in passing, but I'm completely clueless about it otherwise. The I Ching? I don't know anything about it. Some Chinese thing, I guess. You may Ching, but I don't. Well, let's go inside. Pull a couple bond rips, shall we? This probably won't be an especially long stream. I'm hopeful that with a couple of bangers in me and a little bit more talking, I'll be able to go to sleep. It's weird because I want to sleep because it's nighttime, it's the middle of the night, and normally I'm asleep, but and I should be exhausted, but I'm somehow not sleepy. I don't know what to make of that. Just fixing the TV setup here. There. that. Like that. There we go. Okay. The sad INFP. Feeling sad about feeling sad. I was talking to Rachel last night before I went to bed. I was like, one of the nice things about Vyvanse is that it doesn't seem to, it has a crash. You catch up on sleep after you finish your run, but it doesn't really have emotional lows like Adderall's crash does. And these Adderalls we took were not normal Adderalls. So I said to Rachel, I wonder if we're going to experience an emotional low in this crash. But of course, Rachel didn't even take any Adderall yesterday. I just took one. But I don't feel any emotional lows. I just feel wide open. That's the only way to say it. I could also just quote Tom Petty again and say, the future is wide open. And of course, I'm still trying to process this whole Johnny thing. If I'm not on Adderall and you take just one Adderall, what does it do? Well, it really depends on where I am in the overall amphetamine cycles. If I've got a clean head, I've been on Sleepy Week for a week or something, I take one Adderall. It might even just make me go to sleep. I take one like 15. And then I'll wake up and be awake, but not really feel thwacked out at all. I take like 2 or 3 15s after a week on a clean head. Then I'll miss a full night's sleep. Then I get sleep every night after that, but less than the regular amount until I run out, and then I'll crash again. I did, Boba Fett. I took Abercrombie earlier. And granted, we went to bed early. I mean, we went to bed like at 8 o'clock or something. So, that's like 7 hours of sleep almost, or 6 I got. But, when you've had a busy few weeks, like Winston's mom says, and you're at the end of an Adderall run, even though it wasn't a long one, I'm still in a sleep deficit. I should be exhausted right now. I should be crashed out and unable to stay awake. No, you were right the first time, I think, Boba Fett. I believe it is spelled with a K. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is spelled with a C. I'm tired of taking your spelling test, Boba Fett. Colonies don't do that to me. They don't keep me awake all night and zombied out, sort of. But it is true that yeah, well, one can drink oneself to sleep, but the morning wake up is never fun. I'm assuming I must still have some amphetamines in my system, because I did take one a little less than 24 hours ago, probably. Xanax is wonderful stuff. Um, Benzos are very useful, but to me, they aren't fun. Yeah, Ritalin is weak sauce, chugaboo. You don't want to take Ritalin. It's dirty speed. You know, the Adderalls that arrived last week were very clean. I don't know what. I'm not sure what it was, but super clean. Like not gacky at all, not jaw clenchy at all. It, very much like Vyvanse, but faster acting. The Ritalin's not good. You want clean. Clean speed that's not gacky is ideally what you want. And I was reading something the other day that, like, I don't remember where I was reading it, but it was essentially saying that the guy was saying that, and he sounded like a very smart guy. I mean, I read the whole comment and didn't trip over anything. You know, it's like it's rare that I read anything more than a sentence long that I don't find something to trip over. But all right, that guy's comment was very informative and stuff. Anyway, he said, I was researching biomass, that's what it was. Somebody on Quora, I guess, had asked, like, is Vyvanse the best speed? And the guy's response was that actually the very cleanest speed is methamphetamine L, which is a prescription. But that's not been my experience in the olden days with street meth, but um, what we took wasn't meth. We would have been awake longer than we were for sure. Like we would have been up for at least 2 full nights if that was meth. So I don't know what it was. Probably what I hypothesized was it was just straight dextro. Because the thing is, I'm headed to the crest again, and someone changed the light up road sign. What do you call those? The crest is the Angeles Crest Highway. It's also known as the 2, or the Glendale Freeway. The Glendale Freeway goes from um, Silver Lake basically into the mountains, all the way through the mountains into Palmdale, or near. It comes out a little before Palmdale. So I don't know why Acacia is driving the crest, but um, maybe she's going to Palmdale. There are plenty of places to go up in the mountains. You don't have to go all the way through. If you get to that one spot up on the crest and you go right, if the roads are clear, if the roads are fixed and stuff, you could theoretically go all the way through to like Lake Arrowhead or something. But the Glendale Freeway is not a highway. Okay? It's best known as the 2. Oh, kitty, you're so fine. You're so fine, you blow my mind. Oh, kitty. Hey, kitty. What a good kitty she is. She's a loving time supreme. You were astonished by the traffic when you were in LA? I'm so glad I don't live there anymore. Yeah, LA drivers are good drivers by and large, but the traffic in LA has changed somewhat over the years. Like, now it's very unpredictable as to where and when you're going to get a lot of traffic and where and when you're not. It's much more unpredictable than it used to be. No trouble. Don't bother your sister. Um, the thing about LA though is when there's not traffic, people drive so fast. I mean, if you're not going 85 on the freeway when there's no traffic, people will get angry at you. I mean, seriously, the average rate of speed on an LA freeway when there's no traffic is at at least 80 miles an hour, and in the fast lane, at least 85 miles an hour. I'm getting older, I don't drive that fast anymore. I mean, sometimes, obviously, if I'm on the highway or something, on the 5, I'll, cruise control it at 85, or 84 maybe. But I'm just not in that much of a hurry for the freeways of Los Angeles. I'm amazed there aren't more accidents in LA because people drive well, but crazy fast. GPS will generally tell you should get a bike. A bike's not very useful in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a sprawling metropolis designed to be navigated by a car. But there are too many people and too few lanes. There's no way to public transportation it because it's too sprawling. Like, they have they have the trains there now. When I lived in Laverne, one time I took the Gold Line down to like Hollywood area. That I think I had jury duty maybe, and it's like there's no good way to get to downtown LA from Laverne, which is at the eastern edge of Los Angeles County. You can take the Gold Line and get train sick, and it takes, an hour plus to get where you're going. Or you can take your car, and depending on the time of day, I mean, well, like, if you're going any time of day when the train is running, you're probably worse off driving in terms of total amount of time, but you won't get as train sick. It's like, there's just no way to manage transportation in that metropolis well. Too many people, too few lanes. And it's like when you're going when sprawl is your solution instead of density. Public transportation just becomes a moot point, right? There's if you're in Manhattan or something, you've got a shit ton of people in a very small area. You can take the subway. It makes sense, right? I'm just going over there and get on the subway. In Los Angeles, it doesn't make any sense. And additionally, LA, like every city on the West Coast, is falling apart. It's being overrun by homelessness and crimes increasing and population density is only getting worse. Because it's like the point of sprawl is to avoid density. LA now is getting both sprawl and density. That's just the only way you can manage that is if you're Tokyo, you're full of Japanese people who are so heavily FE'd that they can no longer reproduce. Yeah, I was impressed with Matt. My friend Matt successfully managed to get what he called a cab, which is to say a Mariposa cab. There's a guy in Mariposa who will do cab services in his car, like an Uber driver, right? But he's not with Uber or any of those things. You just have to call him and say, "Can you be my cab and give me a ride here? And then can you be in my cab and pick me up?" Like Matt was not at all sure at the end of the wedding if he was going to be able to get this guy to come and pick him up because he's semi-retired. So Mariposa apparently invented Uber before Uber did. It's just a guy who you call. And he doesn't have to share any of the money with Uber. So that was impressive. Matt managed to find a cab in Mariposa County. It was not a cab at all. There's nothing yellow or special car about it. Just some guy in his car, but I'm still surprised he was able to find one. But it was helpful too because had he not been able to get the cab driver to come back at the end, I was going to drive Corey, Matt, and Liz back to their hotels, so I didn't have to do that. Your friend Anna, who would Uber you, can't make any money driving now and stopped. You mean because of a problem with Uber, or I don't know. It's like, yeah, Uber's not a good deal for Uber drivers. Cameron did it for a while. He explained why. To me, it's not worth doing or whatever. I mean, because by the time spent waiting, etc. I guess it's just it wasn't worth it for him. Stop doing it. It's like, obviously, when I was in Los Angeles, I did, in fact, enjoy getting DoorDash. If you were going to say, what's something you miss about Los Angeles? I might say DoorDash. But it's like, give up DoorDash in exchange for all the benefits of being here. I mean, I like DoorDash, but it's also expensive. So, just as well, I don't get it. And in every other regard that I can think of, like literally in every other way I can think of, plus many other ways I can't think of, it's better here. I mean, it's like, turns out you don't need DoorDash at all. You can eat at home just fine. I don't want my Strat. I don't like that guitar now. I have this guitar now. And now I have a bass. That middle one's a bass. At some point, I'm reasonably confident I will get back to making music. But not entirely sure. It's like, I've known for a long time that my ceiling wasn't as high as it ought to be for me to be directing my attention to music that much. If I'm not going to be able to be the Beatles or Johnny, why am I really bothering? But the answer is obviously it's fine if I like playing. I like playing music sometimes, and if I'm feeling like doing that, great. But there's a number of different factors going on here. It's like I like listening to the best music available, and mine isn't by and large the best music available. So it's like I do like listening to my own music, some the good stuff. But even then, it's part of the delicious flavor of it is SI, not NI. So you shouldn't flavor music with SI. When you don't have a lot of FI conscious, Winston's mom, thank you very much. I love you. You're wrong, but I very much appreciate your support. As you enjoy learning about wonders in math, I enjoy learning about, well, I like to read stories about how mathematician Mia finally solved Mia's conjecture. I like to read stories like that. And then I'll learn sort of a layman's understanding of Mia's conjecture. And maybe a slightly above average layman's understanding. And then I'll hit and now you have to actually know how to do all this math. And I'll say, and there's the end of the article. That's my relationship with math. I've been teaching Chloe and used to teach in classroom conditional logic. I don't know if you consider that math or not, but I like that. Like that conditional logic proofs for me are as easy as rolling out of bed. Like I can make up infinite amounts of them for students to take to try, and I can solve them all. There are some very difficult ones, right, in conditional logic, but they're not difficult conceptually. They're difficult because you gotta run a million fucking conversions before you get down to wherever. Well, Winston's mom, that autotune thing, most of the time you're hearing autotune, it doesn't sound like anything. It just sounds like somebody singing on pitch. It's just when they use it as an effect, like to purposefully take a note that someone's saying down here and auto tune it up to here. That's the sound you don't like. Okay? Because if I'm a quarter step flat, auto tune will fix it. I've never used auto tune. For some reason, I don't have that effect. I don't know. I guess I never even thought about that until right now. Why don't I have auto tune in Audacity? Why isn't there an auto tune effect? There's not. So I never used it, but so I have to use pitch shift, right? I have to non-auto tune. I will pitch shift my notes sometimes if they're off a little bit, you know. If I hit this note a quarter tone flat, then I'll just pitch shift it up. But I have to manually do that for each of my things. I don't have auto tune. It's not that big of a deal because if I usually am not out of pitch that much, you know. My pitch is pretty good. If I did do a take where my pitch has been bad, I should just redo the whole take. For sure. I don't know why I would do a take where my pitch is bad throughout. That's not usually going to happen. Sometimes if my voice is a little shot, I can't quite get up to something, you know. That's a good reason to be flat. But my my ear's good, so I normally don't sing notes sharp or flat. And when I do, it makes me very angry at myself. Like, makes me want to puke, you know? I hate it so much that I can't even describe how much I hate it. If I'm listening back to myself and I have a note that's obviously flat or something, like, delete this. It's horrible. I was thinking last night about other high level kind of revolutionaries that you might include in the conversation with the Beatles and Johnny. Eminem came to mind, you know, as a fairly powerful revolutionary. Dr. Dre, but they don't impress me with Johnny. And Eminem's certainly not mistake free. Plenty of mistakes. Dr. Dre is definitely not mistake free. So, you know, or what other kind of big bands might people claim to be revolutionary in some regard? Led Zeppelin, or just wrong? If you think Led Zeppelin deserves to be in this conversation, you're just totally wrong. Um, Weezer. Weezer's great, but they got a lot of crap too, you know, a lot of garbage. The Rolling Stones? No. Not a chance in that. Um, Elvis? I mean, Elvis, I don't think Elvis was that good. I'm not quite sure why Elvis blew up as big as he did. I mean, I get it, like maybe his initial early shit may have been. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what's up with Elvis. Like, why did Elvis blow up so much? That's a mystery. I I don't get that one. He must have just had some quality about him that resonated with the times, but wasn't timeless. It resonated very heavily with the times, but wasn't timeless. That's the only understanding I can. It's the only explanation I can make for Elvis, because he's no genius. I mean, there was a time when, like, the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, may well have been able to lay claim to coolest guy in the world, right? But Frank Sinatra singing covers doesn't impress me. I mean, he may be a good singer, but he's not an artist, right? Singing covers doesn't make you an artist. Sorry. There you go with Elvis as well. George Gershwin. I mean, he had a couple of good classical music things, but no, not consistent enough. Not too stuck in his genre, you know. Okay, so well, that's a good reason for him to be successful as a like movie star cover singer, I guess. You know, Elvis has charisma and charm and was physically the most perfectly handsome, beautiful man ever. Well, that's a very good reason for him to be successful as a movie star and a singer of covers, provided he sings reasonably well. But that doesn't make him an artist. So that's fine. You know, I'm talking about artists, not people who sing covers and you know that stuff's fine and there's nothing wrong with all of that, but it doesn't impress me. Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson was a very influential songwriter. You know, he had Crazy, I Fall to Pieces. Those are his songs, not Patsy Cline's. No, I think he played guitar. I think Elvis was a musician and a singer. I don't I just don't think he was an artist. He was a movie star. Elvis seems to me like a good correlator for Elvis is Mike Tyson somehow. Like, you know, Mike Tyson was a real cultural phenomenon that has a timelessness to it. People will still be watching Mike Tyson's fights on YouTube 100 years from now. Just like we actually are still watching, what's that guy's name? Like Joe Jackson or something? They have a video of him boxing. It's from like 1898 or something. I watched it. I watched lots of old boxing. I've watched Rocky Marciano. I've watched um, what's his name? Well, lots of the old boxers. Certainly, I've watched Muhammad Ali fights. Right. So there are other things besides music where you do have that timelessness quality to it. Um, as far as scope of cultural phenomenon, Mike Tyson stands as a giant in history because of all those old boxers and everything that I've watched. And granted, the older the footage, the less you can learn from it, right? Like, you can't really get a good sense of what a good boxer Mia was in 1898. That video is interesting to watch, but it's hard to grade his skills as a boxer because there's like one camera from over here and it's like all crackly looking and stuff. So it's hard to gauge his skill or talent. But what I will tell you is, having watched lots of boxing videos, lots of them, Muhammad Ali, uh, Mike Tyson stands out. Muhammad Ali stands out too, but Mike Tyson more than anybody stands out. You know, you see if you watch Tyson's first like 20 fights, you, it's like your jaw is on the floor because he just comes out of the corner like this, bowling towards the guy, and you can see the incredible force and violence of this man's punches just shock professional boxers who are accustomed to being punched as hard as possible by other professional boxers. Mike Tyson hits them and they look like, I never should have taken up boxing. What am I doing? What have I done? Like, you can see them instantly want to give up. It's crazy. That guy was a real cultural phenomenon. I would say, I don't know if I'd say best boxer of all time, but certainly most striking, like most jaw dropping. Okay, if you I'm not going to disagree with that sentence, but I'm going to ask you this. Does that mean you're saying Mike Tyson was the best boxer of all time? See, that's a tricky question because when you're talking about the sweet science, um, you might have to give that title to horribly boring Floyd Mayweather Jr. The thing is, that's the problem. The best boxer, per se, the best of the sweet science, you'd probably have to give it to Floyd Mayweather Jr., and his fights could not be more boring. Nobody wants to watch a Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight. He just successfully defends and pat for rounds and rounds and rounds, and maybe occasionally get lucky, get a knockout. Well, Mr. Bobby, Floyd Mayweather definitely can read numbers because he is rich, 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 rich. He's like the richest guy ever. Okay, I don't think I am just engaging in semantics. I'm making a distinction here. I'm saying Tyson, I agree, was the greatest of all time at fighting in a boxing ring. But if you were to grade him on his defense, for example, he's definitely not the greatest defensive boxer of all time. And defense is half of boxing. So Jake Paul will become the biggest of all time. No, I don't think so. But yeah, I respect your passionate advocacy in favor of Mike Tyson as the greatest. Because most people will disagree with you and say, no, Muhammad Ali is the greatest. I'm not going to say that. I agree with you. He's the greatest, Mike Tyson. He just, he broke men's spirits with his fist, like in seconds. Big, burly, grown men with big muscles and a, a, a history of having won boxing matches before and stuff. You know, he he made the rest of the best look weak and soft. Well, George, you know what, Mr. Bobby, you do have to include George Foreman in this conversation. Until Muhammad Ali broke that man's spirit, he was the scariest dude in the world. But I still say Mike Tyson, if he got in the ring with Mike Tyson at Mike Tyson's prime, the same thing would have happened to George Foreman and Muhammad Ali that happened to everybody else who faced Mike Tyson at Mike Tyson's prime. They would have come out with a plan and they would have got Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face by Mike Tyson. I can't watch Mike Tyson interviews because they just make me go, oh. In the absence of it, of some sort of spiritual guide, Mike Tyson had some difficulties. And it makes me sad to think about that, you know. Well, because I don't like seeing people's paradigms unravel, you know. And Mike Tyson likes Jung and Nietzsche, by the way. Makes sense. He is an NI user. You need to be or I need to be. My idea is still valid, so telling me telltale signs to differentiate between the two. Well, there's not definitively telltale signs. I mean, like, telltale implies definitive. But what I would suggest is that the best place to look is at the S's. INTPs are worse at getting shit done than ENTPs. ENTPs are not good at getting shit done, but INTPs are even worse. And INTPs are better at feeding themselves and hydrating themselves and preventing themselves from being physically uncomfortable than ENTPs are. ENTPs are prone to, oh, let's start a 4 mile hike while I'm in my flip flops without thinking about it, without bringing any water. Or, ENTPs are prone to doing shit like that. INTPs are not so prone to doing shit like that. So that's where I would look if you're trying to distinguish between INTP and ENTP, while adding the following caveat. I have no reason to believe you're either, but I don't have any reason to believe you're not. Um, that's where you should look, is at the S's. How difficult it is for you to get things done. How much do, deadlines create problems for you? And how good are you at basic self-care, particularly in avoiding discomforts, physical discomforts? Like, do you think about making, before you have a video conference, how much do you think about where you're going to sit and whether it's going to be comfortable to get yourself a drink first? And yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want anything to do with any Discord. So if Winston Mom wants something to do with that Discord, then that would be fine. But I don't want anything to do with it. I don't like Discord. I don't like Discord, the word, like what the word means. And I also don't like Discord, the app. Because discordance is bad. To put it simply, discordance is bad. I'm going to go in the garage and smoke another cigarette. After that, I may or may not be able to, I may or may not continue live streaming. I may try to go to bed. Sounds like Rachel's up too. I don't know. She's not chatting though. She's probably sort of half asleep. Wait, when I walked by there before, I heard her listening to this, so I don't know if she still is. Yeah, she still is, but I think she's asleep. I guess I shouldn't. I don't need to really be super quiet after all. She's listening to me on her phone. So I guess double talking would be annoying. What a wonderful woman she is. It's like she doesn't need to listen to me. I don't expect her to. I'm neutral on wanting her to. So she's not just listening to me to show me that she's listening to me. She actually wants to listen to me talk on this live stream. She's going to sleep, or even though she's around me all the time. Like, that just amazes me. Because I had totally come to believe before I got with Rachel that I am inherently insufferable. That I had to constrain myself as much as possible because, too much Eric was basically what reality kept telling me. Okay, so I need to cut back on the error as much as possible. Of course, I never really could, but to be with somebody who, I mean, even now, it defies my. I'm incredulous. Like, she can't possibly actually like me that much that she wants to listen to me, even though she already lives with me and I talk to her in person all the time. And when she's in her room, she wants to hear my live stream too. Or, it's like, what kind of saint, wonderful saint is this person? How could I have possibly gotten so lucky that this wonderful human being likes me so much that they watched me before we got together. We got together and she married me. And then she still wants to listen to my live streams. How great is that? She, she must genuinely like me. I'm very impressed with that. Very impressed. She has a high tolerance for even extreme amounts of Eric don't seem to be toxic to her. So, I don't know. Because usually, even relatively low amounts of Eric are plenty for most people. Okay, that's enough. Off you go, Eric. you I don't blame them. I have a lot to say. Although, in actual life, I'm much less loquacious than I used to be. Now, Les, our neighbor, there's an any dom who's very loquacious. Matt's the one who called him that. That's what I'm calling it. I had fun talking to your loquacious neighbor. Matt's an ITP, which is part why I'm so surprised he made it to my wedding. I'm so glad he did. But I gotta tell you, this is third slot child Effie. I was just having a moment of Effie, you call it ego spank bank, you know? So I don't know who made that term, it wasn't me, but when I heard it, I said, that's great. That's a very third slot Effie thing, is ego spank bank. I had this memory of Corey and Liz getting out of their car and Corey saying, "This is your house?" That made me, that's good Effie juice. She was right there. She's like, oh yeah, juicy Effie. I'm very childish like that, you know? The thing is, Because Corey doesn't get cognitive functions. He thinks that that's something wrong with me, that I shouldn't be prioritizing those sort of things, you know. But of course, I'm not prioritizing them. It's just inherently a natural value of mine. I'm just lucky because I'm no longer subject to the kind of critique that other people have no answer for. You shouldn't care so much about what people think. Why not? Because I should be you. That's basically right. That's pretty much my answer. Because I should be you? That's what people say all the time. They say all these words. They just mean, you should be me. That's all they really mean. Well, unfortunately, even if I wanted to be you, I can't be you, so I'm just gonna have to be okay with being me. Okay with being me is a good idea. Everyone should be okay with being me. Not me, but them, you know. Because look, here's the thing. If somebody's not critiquing your behavior, if they're critiquing your behavior, then there's a calculation to be done. They're either right or wrong. And if they're right, then no problem. They haven't done anything bad, and you need to learn from that. If they're wrong, that's a complicated matter. But if they're not critiquing your behavior, if they're critiquing something else, like you shouldn't care so much what people think. That's not a behavior they're critiquing, right? Then all they're saying is, you should be more like me. And all she kept saying was, eat, sleep, rave, repeat. Jacobitism? Jacobitism? Is Jacobitism the study of Jacoby and Myers, the law firm? Good old Jacoby and Myers. They've got Jacoby, they've got Myers. It's amazing. Baby, link me or I'll go. I don't know how to link to an algorithm. Maybe put it on a web page. Algorithm. It's the name of an uh, 5 individual, a quintet. A quintet comprised of aspiring algae musicians. It's a jam band. Algorithm. Their music is as bad as their name. But, you know, give them a chance. They're still practicing. It's like, speaking of like terrible band names, my dad used to listen to horrible music, of course, and some of the bands that I've seen in concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Thanks, Dad, for taking me to these horrible shows. I saw Spyro Gyra, horrible show, horrible band name. I saw Weather Report, horrible show, horrible band, horrible band name. I saw Al Jarreau, not such a bad show, but it's horrible guy, artist, not horrible guy, horrible artist name. He put on a pretty good show. That show was much better than Spyro Gyra or Weather Report, which don't even have vocalists. They're just like horrible fusion jazz bands. Just, oh, can you think about this? Does this qualify as child abuse? Your ESTJ father takes his ENTP son to see Spyro Gyra at the Hollywood Bowl. I guess it doesn't quite rise to the level of abuse, but it certainly was torturous. In contrast, I was happy when we went to see the Manhattan Transfer at the Hollywood Bowl. Yes, I've seen the Manhattan Transfer live in concert. I used to have a T-shirt. It was my lucky shirt, my Manhattan Transfer concert T-shirt. I wore it all the time, and I shit you not. I wore my Manhattan Transfer concert T-shirt to school all the time. It was my lucky shirt. And I think I started getting holes in it and stuff. And then my mom threw it away without asking me or anything. I was so mad. She didn't want me going to school looking like that, I guess. I enjoyed the Manhattan Transfer concert. I knew all their music. I listened to their albums and stuff a lot. That's one of those things from childhood that hasn't really stood the test of time that well. I still like a couple of Manhattan Transfer songs. Of course, they're singing covers and stuff. They're not artists, but um, a few of the songs that I know of their songs that I like are good songs. I mean, they sing plenty of good songs because they're just singing covers and they don't have terrible taste in covers. And I do like, at least in some instances, like multiple vocal harmony bands. I don't know, not acapella bands or whatever you call them. Like barbershop quartets and stuff like that. I like that stuff sometimes. It's fun. They actually had a show where they had a competition between those kind of bands that I watched. That was a good show to watch. Some of them were great. A couple of them were terrible, but I forget what that show was called. But yeah, I enjoyed that show. That was fun. It was kind of like one of those America's Got Talent kind of shows, but all the competing, all the competitors were like five or more people, vocal only bands, you know. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna smoke another cigarette. Then I'm gonna go back inside, and I don't even know if I want another cigarette. I'm feeling pretty tired. I'm feeling more tired than the least tired person ever, but less tired than the most tired person ever. Unfortunately, that doesn't give me much information. Pretty wide range of possibilities in between those. The Swedish royals are not, but descend from one of Napoleon's marshals, Bernadette. The King of Norway was imported from Denmark. That was also the Habsburgs. Harald's current king was 19th to the English throne some years ago. Huh. That's interesting. The royals in England are of German descent? Did the royals get 23 and Mead? I think I do want to get 23 and Mead. Maybe I should look into that tomorrow. I could get an information packet in the mail, and it would say, here's 23, and here's you. It would say, transracial, 100%. It'd be good to have that validated. Yes, Eric, the British royals are German since 1745. 1745, huh? Well, who were they before then? Were they British people before then? Was King Arthur German? He was probably British. He had to be before 1745. I'm not exactly sure when he was, but he's their most famous king of all. And before that, they were Normans. Were any of them named Norman? And if so, did people refer to them as Norman the Norman? And if so, did he undergo some sort of norming process? An instance of which one might call normalization. I normalize fairly often. It's something you can do in Audacity or other audio apps. It just brings the whole thing up so the peaks are at 0. You can make it like a safer form of compression if you just normalize, then limit at like -1.5 or something. It depends how safe you want to be. If you want to be super safe, you limit to -0.5 and then repeat. Normalize, limit, normalize, limit, normalize, limit. That's a safer way to compress things because you don't want to get that breathy compression sound, you know. It's what you might call it pre-compression because it's what I do to stuff to start working on it, but I will eventually compress it as well. You got to be careful with compression. It's critically important, and it can be tricky. That's why I stopped compressing to get it at levels where I can work with it well. Then you end up over compressing because you're gonna have to compress again at the end. You know, you're probably gonna have to compress each track again at the end, and you're probably gonna do a little bit of compression in the mastering. So, compressing your raw tracks to get them to levels where you can meaningfully work with them is not a good idea. Just if Just a little audio engineering tip there for you if you record music or anything. If you haven't encountered that reality yourself already, try that. EQ is also something that's very important and very tricky. Very tricky. Because you want to make a little frequency space that's set aside just for this, right? To a certain extent. You want to set aside a little bit. But it's hard to get it right. It's really hard. There are not very many rules of thumb that you can apply. But one is cut a little bit the guitar at like 2K. Then your vocals will pop more. Ultimately, though, that's the only thing you can really consistently do because you gotta EQ shit in relation to the other things that you have. And you don't always have the same things, you know. You got different drum tones, different bass tones, different key tones, whatever, you know. So you just gotta listen to it, and you can also like spectrum it. I do that a lot. See what it looks like on the spectrum. See where its peaks are and stuff. But that can be a dangerous path too. Then you start going, I want to flatten this out a little bit more here and here, and then all of a sudden you get this over EQ'd mess. I mean, producing even a single great timeless track is so difficult that even with probably maybe billions of people recording music, certainly hundreds of millions of people out there recording music, it happens very infrequently. You know, like maybe 1 in 100 million songs or something reaches, crosses the finish line. Maybe one in a billion songs. It's a very small number, you know. I don't know how many total songs there are, tracks available to have in the world, but an incredibly tiny fraction of them cross the finish line. Like sperm, yeah. Really, very much like sperm. You get about the same rate of success. I don't know how many sperms are there in one load. How many sperms per load? Will somebody Google that for me, please? Actually, now that I'm inside, I can Google it myself. How many sperms per load? How many sperms are there in a load? 100 million, huh? Well, it might be right about like sperm. Could be lower than that though, because there has to be more than 10 billion songs recorded, right? Well, there's 10 billion songs recorded. Record your best takes and tweak little or nothing. Well, you definitely have a point there. Like, if you record it perfectly to begin with, but that means if you've got great gear and you use it perfectly, then you're well suited to I mean, and as a general rule, you're well suited to use as few effects as possible of that sort, right? Like when you're there's the stage of creating sounds is different than the stage of recording music. So using effects before the board doesn't count. Okay, I'm not including that. So like if you want your guitar to have distortion, you're running it through a distortion pedal. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You should avoid using those kind of effects. You're going to want to craft the tone of each of your instruments that's in there, and that's fine. But I agree with you. If you have everything set up right, you got a good sound engineer and all that kind of stuff, ideally, you'd not have to do anything except compression. You'll always have to do compression. Properly produced music involves quite a bit of compression because you need to get the dynamic range right. Like, you can't have some parts of this get a little bit softer here in comparison to the rest of the stuff, a little bit louder here in comparison to the rest of the stuff, and have it come out and have it cross the finish line, right? So you need to get those levels things exactly right, the dynamics. There needs to be some dynamics, like some parts need to be softer a little bit, but that needs to be like the an executed decision, not just the realities of variance in performance volume, right? So you can never escape compression, but with the other things, I agree with you by and large, except here's the deal. Even if you record everything perfectly and you have all the instruments perfect and everything, what's almost impossible to do is to set that all up ahead of time such that there isn't any frequency overlap problem. We've got two things that are at the right volume, but are too much at the same frequency, and they kind of cancel each other out in terms of the audio space overall. Then you're going to have to do a little EQing. Even on the best equipment, the best recordings, right? You're probably almost every time, unless you got like a symphony orchestra. See, a symphony orchestra is designed to do the EQing before the recording. That's what a symphony orchestra is. It's got all those different instruments with all those different frequency ranges, and they don't step on each other. But people don't record music usually with symphony orchestras, so. Well, I mean, obviously you got to play it right, both, yeah, and that's another thing that it's like everybody who's making music, recording music, has varying degrees of skill in these varying components, right? So I'm not a great musician. I'm not like Chow Wah and Hui, who can, who are ultra attentive to both tone and sustain and all of that stuff to get all of that stuff perfect. I'm not a good musician like that. So for me, that means I'm going to have to do a lot more editing. Like when I'm playing a bass line, the bass notes all need to be the same duration, or the duration needs to be an executed decision. And it's very difficult for me to play it that perfectly, whether on the guitar or a bass. So I have to do editing and stuff to make it sound right. Are you guys talking about Burt Lancaster? It makes me think of the Baghdad Cafe. I gotta, I gotta put up a community tab post with a link to the Baghdad Cafe video. It's the craziest thing. Okay, here we go. Put it, and I'll get the link to it. We'll put it over here. There you go. Before I went to sleep earlier, Rachel and I had some wonderful sexual intercourse. What a wonderful woman she is. She listens to my live streams. She married me. She had sex with me. What a wonderful woman. You know? She's just the bee's knees. And in case you didn't know, the bee's knees are incredibly good. Apparently. I wonder why that expression came to be. Something that's really good is the bee's knees. Like, do bees even have knees? I don't think bees have knees. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm just denying the knees for no good reason. Okay, so I've made a decision to eat a pizza. This means you guys have about 30 minutes left of live stream. Because I gotta preheat the oven. This cooks for 20 minutes. Then I'm gonna end the live stream and eat this while watching a cartoon. Pull a couple more rips. I think I'll be ready for bed. Because your kiss is on my list. Because your kiss, I can't resist. A Slav. Hey, you're good looking. What you got cooking? How about cooking something up for me? Polish genes are strong. I'm gonna be so surprised when I get my 23andMe results back and it says I'm 90% Ivory Coast, 10% Congo. Really? I'm an Ivory Coastian? What are Ivory Coast residents called, I wonder? Ivory Coastans? Ivory Coasters? I like Ivory Coasters. That way I can put my drink on them. Cote d'Ivoire. You caught d'Ivoire? I didn't know somebody had let d'Ivoire loose. You have Egyptian toes? I didn't know 23andMe did that way. Okay, so your feet are from China. Your shins are from Europe. Your thighs are from South America. You've got a Slavic stomach. An Eastern European lung, left lung. Greek right lung. That's why it's not financially solvent. And you're German from the shoulders up. Ivory. That's one of my problems. Too few of my things are made out of ivory. That's why I believe I'm experiencing what the medical field calls ivory deficiency disorder. It's when you get depressed because you don't have enough ivory. You try to somehow make it work with ivory soap. It doesn't work. You just get clean and more depressed. That's a good joke. I think it's funny how Rachel needs to have some audio playing to sleep. Like she never sleeps in silence. She always sleeps with if she's sleeping in the bed with me with her headphones in, or if she's sleeping upstairs just with the speaker on. She always sleeps with talking in the background. I mean, I find that strange because talking in the background makes it impossible for me to sleep. Almost always. Like, I cannot stop processing what the words are saying. I might be able to sleep with like quiet music on, but I couldn't sleep with good music on. Like anything compelling would keep me awake. Maybe quiet classical music, I could sleep with that. It'd have to be both, like chill music and inoffensively chill. So, you know, good but not too good classical music. Maybe like some sort of like horrible new agey tingly bells and rain sticks song. I'd be able to go to sleep to that. Tingly bells and rain sticks is a great name for an album. He's got to have your fingers crossed it doesn't have any tingly bells or rain sticks on it, you know. If I make another album, I might just call it Tingly Bells and Rain Sticks. The thing is, I actually could put together, even with my current material, a pretty good album, a very listenable album, you know, like more listenable than most people's albums. Because mostly you can't listen to albums because they've got too many like stinkers on them, you know. I could put together an album that didn't have any stinkers on it, probably. But even though none of the songs would be stinkers, also none of them would be visionary works of perfection, you know. But still, I gotta give myself a little credit thinking about it. Putting together an album with no stinkers on it is quite an accomplishment. I could probably do that with my existing material. Of course, keep in mind, I'm saying, having recorded hundreds of songs, I could probably put together an album of 8 to 10 of them without any stinkers on it. So it's not like I could start right now and create a new album with no stinkers on it. But by cheating like that, by just recording and releasing a shit ton of stuff, and then after you've done it all, then decide which ones are good enough to be one good album, I could probably do that. And there aren't many people who can claim that. So that's something to feel kind of good about. Oh no! I was supposed to wait until after I put the pizza in the oven to come out here and smoke the cigarette. Let's just, well, it's probably not even preheated yet. It's fine. I just smoked this, finish smoking the cigarette and then go back in and put the pizza in. It stopped raining. No, it's just still raining a little tiny bit, but pretty much stopped raining. No, it has stopped raining. It's completely clear above me. It must just be drops from the trees or something. It smells good. I loved it when I got up to pee in the middle of the night until I walked out first and it was raining. That was the way it smelled when I walked in the garage. It smelled like rain in the forest, you know. I don't like hold my sense of smell too precious, but that is one of the disadvantages of inviting Greta Jean to your occasion. She will tend to stuff up the old nose a bit and inhibit your capacity to smell. Five, 10, 15, 20. Okay, now we have the pizza cooking and 20 minutes until it's done. Yeah, you're right about that. Video editing has a lot to do with NI. Video editing can be tricky, but the core problem at hand when you're editing a video is you need to know what you're trying to say or do with it initially, and then you need to make your component pieces like clips and stretches of video, tape, or whatever, you know. You need to make that um, you need to make that fit your original vision. Of course, your original vision, you may not have had much of an original vision. So it's like, for me, editing is a very is only called for in certain kinds of circumstances because, like, let's say that determinism video I made an attempt at it first, and if I were had been if it were the case that I was going to try to upload that, I could have edited it into something that was better than it was. But it was a better decision for me to try it again. And the second one didn't need much editing, so I just uploaded it. You know, it's like you can improve a user's experience of a video by editing. You can improve the experience a lot by editing. Um, you know, if I have a 10-minute video that's good, being what it's trying to be, I can make it fantastic by editing it to 5 minutes, putting in some like visual road mapping cues and stuff. But the problem is the cost benefit ratio is not a good one. I have not found that editing my videos correlates with more views at all. If anything, it's the opposite correlation. I don't know why, but that's my experience, and I have a lot of data to look at, you know. So sometimes you're left with a choice between a labor of love art project thing and anything else. So obviously, when I go to the bridge in Pasadena with Rachel and Tiffany and Mindy, and they put them in their hot air balloon and lower them down and video that stuff. And obviously, I already know going in, I've got a big editing project ahead of me. And also that video is not going to get any views. But I'm doing it because I want to do it and it's fun and I like it. So that's fine. If I'm doing that, I don't mind editing because it's a labor of love. Otherwise, it's just not worth my time. I mean, maybe if somebody was better at editing than me, or to edit my stuff, they'd get different results, but I don't get different results. You think I found my niche? I think I did too, actually, Mr. Robbie. You know, YouTube is as big a milestone in my life as like graduating college, getting married, having a kid, meeting Rachel, all those things. Those are big milestones, like huge sea changes in my life. Starting to YouTube was definitely one such big sea change. And it will, in large part, the rest of my life will be built around it, you know? It's been a constant for over a decade now, and at this point, I think it's fair to say I'm not going to get bored of it, you know? Yeah, you need a team of people, really. You really do. Like in Johnny's most recent album, he clearly was able to delegate some things, like audio engineering stuff and production stuff. He was recording on Interscope's dime, you know? And uh and with all the powerful skills, people, and gear that come along with it, right? He made genius shit on his own before that, but recording as an Interscope artist took him to, he was already at the next level. He was already at the next level without that. With that, he went to the next level. So it's like people are best off when they're allowed to stay in the lanes that they want to stay in and that they're best at staying in. Like every job has parts that you like better and parts you like worse. It's not um it's not because and it's not like you should never have to do the parts of the job you don't like as much. It's just that in an optimal configuration, the amount of work to be done in the parts of the job you like the most would occupy your full workload, and every other part of the job would be delegated accordingly to people. So like when I was director at Kudos, I had many different jobs. In an optimal configuration, I would have just coached debate, and I wouldn't have even had to do anything other, like register for tournaments and stuff. Like I did have assistant coaches that I could delegate that stuff to, you know, but there was a reliability question as to like how reliably can I delegate this? I don't know with this whole complicated information. To even delegate, I got to maybe like show them how to do it and stuff. In an ideal world, that I would have just only coached debate, and I would have had a team of people around me, a support team doing everything else. All I would have been doing is cutting cards, giving lectures, running scrimmages, debate coach stuff. And had things been optimized accordingly, results would have been even more spectacular for sure. Like, sky is the limit spectacular. Because I can sustain and being I can sustain happily in doing just the parts of the job that I like the most much longer than I can sustain happily doing the parts of the job I like the most and other stuff. Like even a little other stuff has a substantial harm on my durability. I don't really want to be a debate coach right now. Let's move on. It was a great job for me. I loved the job. I found it very fulfilling. The parts that I loved. And I genuinely believe I did good work that will have lasting positive impacts on people's lives. I believe that every student I coached is a substantially better thinker than they would have been had I not coached them. So that's a worthwhile thing. But it's just not where I'm at anymore. For one thing, it's like I already proved myself in that arena. I have nothing left to prove. So why bother? It would be hard to muster the competitive fire that I need to be successful because it's not authentically important to me anymore that I win debate tournaments. It used to be authentically incredibly important to me that I won every debate tournament. I didn't win every debate tournament, but it was incredibly important to me that I did, and losing was just, I hated it so much. I don't know how much more I could have hated anything. But I don't think I hate losing that much anymore. It's like, whatever. You can't win. You can't be the best coach with that attitude. I was a fiery coach. I mean, I definitely yelled at people all the time, Slam my hand on this. What the fuck are you doing? Because with debaters, it's different than a normal classroom environment. I did not watch my language very much at all around the debaters. And once we got into middle school, elementary school students now, I would fifth graders, which is as low as it goes. I had a couple of fourth graders on my fifth grade team occasionally, but I would be different with the fifth graders. But sixth grade and on, it was not uncommon to hear that coming from my classroom. What the fuck are you doing? I just told you don't give them information additional to what they asked. He asked you, nah, 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 nah. What are the two possible answers you could possibly have given there? Yes or no? You said, meow, 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 meow. Why are you walking over and handing the enemy information they can use against you? But I was also very jovial. Like, even when I was yelling at people, they could tell I was happy mad. I was mad because they didn't listen to me. But I was happy because people were fighting, people were battling, and I could see the progress. That was that was fun. Thanks, Winston's mom. Yeah, I'm a little worried about Delilah's health. She seems too skinny to me. But I don't know. She's young. I'm sure she'll be fine. Let's see what's been set up here. You're keen into why I may find you so precious, Sister Eric. Everyone out there is a team. You are pure truth than any candy all wrapped in a precious package of cheese. Well, you don't like me because I don't have a team. It does make me more authentically accessible, right? I'm I'm a very accessible YouTuber. I I don't really know much about other YouTubers. It's like I'm not much of a YouTube watcher, so I'm not I don't really have good enough reason to make this claim, but I suspect most other YouTubers are not as easily accessible as I am. I live stream a lot, and anybody who wants to talk to me, they can come here. I don't have that many people on the stream, so uh, if they say something, I'll almost certainly read it and address it, and you know. And it's not like, and I'm not as hardcore upload a million videos as I used to be, but or go live as often as I used to be. But I still am for most of the month close to daily, you know. And I've been that way for a very long time. People do like to know that, that there's consistency of some sort, right? Like they do get that from me. They can go away for a while, come back. I'm still here doing the same things, you know. So consistency is is it has some inherent value to it for SI reasons. If people enjoy the experience of coming here, it's important that they know that while it's not exactly predictable, it's predictable that I'm never going to go more than a couple of weeks without putting up stuff, and that length of absence is going to be rare. You know, does Delilah have a good relationship with her mother or with any other woman like that? Well, I think she actually kind of has a good relationship with her biological mother now, but her mother gives her money, which she refers to as reparations. Because she does not think her mother did a good job of being a mother at all. She has probably a worse relationship now with Candace than she does with her biological mother, but she believes and acknowledges that Candace did a good job of being a mother. So it's like, I don't know. She doesn't seem to like Candace a lot, but she values her as a mother more. There you go, Mr. Man. Oops, I forgot. I'm taking her teeth out. I'm feeding the cat. Oh, this is a nice dish towel. Rachel got some actual dish towels. That's a lot better, actually. So, since we moved here until like yesterday, these have been our dish towels. I think this one was here when we got here, and this is a pillowcase. I guess Rachel said eventually, maybe we should get some actual dish towels. So she got a dish towel. Here, let's see. More than one dish towel, but didn't feel like she wanted to be so bold as to remove these unilaterally without consulting me first. That's a FE tool for you. She had just thrown them away and replaced them with dish towels. I would have said, great job, man. Wow. I'll still say great job for putting one here. I don't know for sure if she has more than one. I guess I won't throw those away quite yet. I'm not entirely sure if she has more than one. She almost certainly does. Who would order just one towel? One dish towel? That doesn't seem likely. Oh, we use Amazon shit, you know. The nearest dollar store, who knows how far away that is. The nearest anything is 30 minutes, and the nearest regular town with regular stuff is 45. Well, I don't think I have a dollar store. No, the cat eats on top of the table. That's where its plate goes. And the other cat eats up on the counter next to the meow. I mean, we don't eat at the kitchen table, so might as well have the cats eat there. We have eaten at the kitchen table, maybe like once, twice, I don't know. But the problem with the kitchen table is that it's not in front of the TV. People are looking for a witness to their lives. Heinlein wrote, people perhaps do not want to be loved as much as understood. Well, ideally, you don't have to choose between the two. Rachel both loves and understands me. I both love and understand her as well. Oh, yeah. Good point, whoever said that. I can't, maybe it was Miss Mom. Lila's grandmother was a huge mother figure in her life, too. My parents wanted to have access to her quite a bit, you know. I never had any problem with it. They didn't, like, try to take her too much so that I'd be like, what are you doing? You're trying to raise my kid, you know? But they loved having her as much as I was comfortable with, and she had lots of very good childhood experiences with her grandparents. They're the ones who like took her on vacation and stuff. Jeremiah Fix says, my silly thought is that her boyfriend doesn't have feelings as a priority, doesn't tell her how beautiful she is, just as she is, often up. Well, I think you're vastly overweighting the importance of her boyfriend to her. Delilah gets plenty of love. Plenty of affirmation. She's happy, healthy, secure. I just think she's a little too skinny. And it's not because she's trying to lose weight. She's just SI ignoring, you know. She doesn't eat. She forgets to eat. She gets a headache and wonders why. Eat something, idiot. I mean, have another cup of coffee? No, Delilah. Eat food. Are her paws pink and her nose a nice healthy shade of pink? Delilah's? No. Oh, Mr. Bubble. You can't have this pizza. Yeah. Unfortunately, Delilah doesn't worry about not having boys interested in her, you know? She feels like she could probably get whatever guy she wants, you know? She's she picked like dorky guys. That's weird. Her current boyfriend is, if they're still even going out, I don't know. He's super dorky. Well, Violet is not foremost a product of what her parents wanted her to be. She's foremost a product of whoever she is, you know. When she was a little girl, she would talk about how important it was. I want big boobs so much when I grow up. She'd pray to God to have big boobs when she grew up. That was not, God did not get that from me. I at no point told her it's good to have big boobs or anything like that at all. Candace didn't tell her that. Melinda didn't tell her that. That was all her. I don't know what made my child be a child who early on in life knew that with absolute certainty. And so much so that she would pray at night. Dear God, please let me have big boobs when I grow up. I mean, who knows why she did that? I don't know. But I can guarantee you she didn't get it from us. She was not echoing our advocacies, you know? It was just, I mean, she knew from her intuition and her feelings, I guess, at a young age. Oh, I mean, look, Sherry, smoking cat food is relatively safe, but smoking kitty litter, you can get really strung out on it really fast. So probably shouldn't do that. Smoking kitty litter is well, like smoking cat food's like just like smoking weed, but smoking kitty litter is like smoking fentanyl. Not a good idea. I mean, there's a million different possible explanations you could come up with, and you'd never be able to figure out which one was correct. Like, I could hypothesize that Delilah, in her early age, before she said that, had in her life for the first couple of years Melinda, who's got a very small chest. And then at 3 years old or so, she started having Candace in her life, who had a very big chest. I could hypothesize that because Melinda was a worse mother than Candace, Delilah intuited that big boobs make you a good person, and that's why she wanted to have big boobs. I could I could come up with a billion different little link stories like that. We would never have any clarity about, or any more clarity about why she did that. That's why those kind of speculative musings are not worth engaging in. But I bet you the NI people here go like, I bet that's it. I bet that's it. That resonates intuitively as making so much sense. Right, but the problem with it is resonating intuitively as making so much sense does not do any good here because there's no way to test that thing. You know, those kind of speculative explanations are fine if, in theory, even one can conceive of a way it could be tested. If you can't think of any way to test it at all, then those speculative musings are just swimming in Ted Kaczynski's pool. Right. Well, anybody with any NI at all will say about that thing I just said about Melinda and Candace, that actually makes sense. Because it does make sense. That's why it's a great example. Will you stop, please? Take a look at Jung's synchronicity perspective. Well, yeah. I didn't have Victoria's Secret catalog, but by the time I was like 13 or so, they started producing the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, which somehow always seemed to end up in the bathroom. Why is the Sports Illustrated in the bathroom again? Oh, my bad. Here, you're getting it out of there. But, at some point, I got actual pornography magazine. And I was like, oh my God, that lady has no clothes on. I can see everything. All of the important parts, I can see them with my very own eyes. It was it was eye opening, but it was also fly opening. So, you know, needless to say, it wasn't long before I discovered masturbation. And the rest, as they say, is history. So, okay, I'm kind of about ready to go to bed. Maybe I'll watch a cartoon first, but I am going to end this stream. I know. But remember this, I love you all very much, and I'll likely see you again soon. Probably, maybe even today later. So, goodbye, good night, and good luck.